It was supposed to be just another humiliating day. Another chance for the world to laugh at me. Instead, that single moment on stage flipped my life upside down. And his voice, his damn voice, was the reason my silence finally cracked. I never thought I would be here. A community theater in a town that never really felt like home. Where people still looked at me like I was some broken instrument gathering dust. My throat had been closed for years. Ever since the accident that stole more than just my voice, it stole my courage. And yet, here I was, standing under stage lights that felt like interrogation lamps, holding a crumpled sheet of music in hands that wouldn't stop shaking. And him, the boy who should have been a stranger, but somehow wasn't. His name was Ethan. Golden brown hair that caught the stage light, hazel eyes that flickered between mischief and tenderness, like he was in on some joke no one else understood. He was everything I wasn't: confident, warm, a natural leader. And in that moment, he asked me to do the one thing I swore I'd never do again. Sing. "You don't have to be perfect," Ethan said softly, leaning closer, his words carrying past the empty rows of seats like a lifeline. "Just be honest." Honest. I wanted to laugh in his face. Honesty had only ever gotten me in trouble. Honesty meant letting people see the truth about me. The boy who had loved someone he wasn't supposed to, who had been punished for it, who had hidden in silence ever since. But his eyes. Damn it, his eyes. So I opened my mouth. And something came out, not perfect, not strong, but mine. And the way his face softened, like he just witnessed a miracle, made me want to keep going, even if the sound cracked, even if my heart felt like it was tearing open. That was the beginning. But if beginnings are fragile, mine was laced with danger. Because in a town like this, two boys standing too close under the same spotlight was enough to set tongues wagging. And I had sworn, after what happened before, that I'd never risk it again. Yet Ethan was different. The first time I saw him outside the theater, he was leaning against a weathered brick wall, holding a coffee cup like it was an extension of his hand. He smiled at me, and for a second, the noise in my head went silent. "Not bad," he said casually, like we'd known each other for years. "You've got something there. Something raw." I sounded like a dying cat, I muttered. He laughed. God, that laugh. Not mocking, not cruel, just real. And in that sound, I heard something I hadn't felt in years. Acceptance. "You're too hard on yourself," he said. "You've been quiet too long. Sometimes, silence lies worse than words ever could." Silence lies. I didn't know how to respond. Days turned into weeks. Rehearsals blurred into late-night conversations, the kind where words slipped out before you could stop them. He'd talk about his dreams of leaving town, of singing on real stages, of not being afraid to want more. I never told him that he was already more than I thought I deserved. The theater became our secret world. Out there, people saw me as the broken boy who used to sing, who should have stayed quiet. But in here, with Ethan's laughter echoing through the empty seats, I felt like maybe I could be someone else. Someone unafraid. But secrets never stay safe. One night, after rehearsal, we lingered too long. The janitor, a man whose disapproving eyes seemed carved from the same stone as this town's judgment, caught us standing too close. Nothing happened, nothing except the look on Ethan's face, soft and unguarded, inches from mine. It was enough. By morning, whispers spread like wildfire. "Did you see them? Boys don't look at each other like that. Disgraceful." I'd been here before. The last time, it destroyed me. When the whispers reached Ethan, I braced for him to pull away. Instead, he leaned closer. "Let them talk," he said. Eyes steady, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "I'm not ashamed." But I was. The weight of memory pressed down on me, dragging me back to that night years ago when I confessed to the wrong boy, trusted the wrong friend. It hadn't ended with laughter or kindness. It had ended with fists, with names carved into my skin like scars. That was why I swore I'd never sing again, never open myself up, never give anyone the power to hurt me. Yet here Ethan was, daring me to believe things could be different. The first real fight between us came the night of the dress rehearsal. "You don't get it?" I snapped, shoving my script into my bag. You can't just stand there like it doesn't matter what they say. It does. It always does. Ethan's jaw tightened, his hands clenching at his sides. No, it only matters if you let it. You're stronger than this silence you've built around yourself. I wanted to scream. Stronger? He had no idea. Strength wasn't standing tall while the world admired you. Strength was crawling out of bed when you wanted to disappear. Strength was surviving the laughter, the hatred, the rejection, and still daring to breathe. But I couldn't say that. Not then. Instead, I walked away, my chest burning with a pain I thought I'd buried years ago. That night, lying awake in the dark, I replayed his words. His anger wasn't cruelty, it was desperation. He wanted me to fight. Not just for music, not just for us, but for myself. The question was, did I have anything left to fight with? The morning of the premiere felt like drowning and flying at the same time. My chest was heavy, my throat raw, but somewhere deep down there was this restless flutter like my body already knew tonight wasn't just about a performance. It was about survival. The theater buzzed with people from town. Families, teachers, kids who once called me names in the schoolyard, all of them settling into seats that creaked like bones. I could hear whispers, laughter under their breath, the same cruel music I'd lived with for years. I wanted to run. My body screamed for it. But then Ethan's hand brushed mine backstage. Just a brush, quick, hidden, but enough to ground me. You don't have to prove anything, he whispered, his hazel eyes locking onto mine. Just tell your truth. I'll be right there. For years, I thought silence was my truth. That quiet was safer than speaking, safer than singing, safer than being seen. But now, standing inches away from him, I realized my silence had never been truth, it had been fear. And fear had stolen enough from me already. The lights dimmed, the curtain rose, and it began. The first act blurred past. Lines memorized out of fear spilled from my mouth like water. But I could feel the weight of eyes in the dark, feel the judgment clinging to me like smoke. My knees wobbled, my voice cracked, and shame threatened to crush me. Then Ethan stepped onto the stage. Not in character, not just playing a role, he was himself. His voice filled the theater, rich and alive, and for the first time the audience wasn't a wall of judgment. They were listeners pulled into his gravity. When the music shifted, when it became my turn to sing, my blood turned to ice. I froze. Every muscle screamed no. My throat locked up. This was the nightmare. I'd open my mouth, and nothing would come out. But Ethan's eyes found mine across the stage. No words, just a look that said, "You're not alone." And suddenly I wasn't. The first note trembled out, broken but alive. Then another, and another. My voice, thin at first, grew stronger, steadier, like something buried under rubble finally breaking free. The theater went silent, not mocking, not cruel, just listening. By the time the final note left my lips, the silence cracked into thunder. Applause. Real echoing applause. My chest heaved. Tears burned my eyes. But for the first time in years, I wasn't drowning, I was breathing. Backstage, everything was chaos. Castmates clapping me on the back, strangers smiling, even the director beaming like he'd just struck gold. But none of it mattered. Not really. Only Ethan did. He found me in the wings, his grin wide, his eyes shimmering with something unspoken. And before I could stop myself, before fear could return, I leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't a long kiss, wasn't some sweeping cinematic moment. Just a soft press of lips, hidden in the shadows, fragile and real. But it was enough. Worth it? He murmured against my hair. Every second, I whispered. Of course, not everyone clapped. The days after were a blur of headlines in the local paper, whispers in grocery aisles, sidelong glances on sidewalks. 2 boys too close. 2 boys on stage together. What kind of example is that? But for every scowl, there was a smile. For every whisper, a quiet word of encouragement. People I never thought would understand slipped notes into my locker, sent texts that just said, "You were brave." And Ethan never once let go of my hand. The real test came a week later, at the diner where the whole town seemed to gather after church. Walking through those doors felt like walking into enemy territory, but Ethan insisted. "Let them see us," he said. "Not as rumors, not as shadows, as real." I nearly bolted when the room went quiet. Forks pausing mid-air, heads turning, eyes narrowing. But Ethan squeezed my hand once, firm and steady, and we walked to a booth like we owned the place. And then, like something out of a dream, the silence broke. Not with insults, not with laughter. With a clap. Slow, awkward at first, but real. An old man at the counter, someone I'd seen every Sunday of my childhood, was clapping. Then another, and another, until the diner wasn't quiet and Maria was filled with applause. Not everyone joined, but it didn't matter. For once, the sound that filled my ears wasn't ridicule. It was acceptance. That night, lying on the hood of Ethan's beat-up car under a sky littered with stars, I realized something I'd never let myself believe before. I wasn't broken. I wasn't disgraceful. I was alive. And I was in love. "I used to think my voice was gone forever," I said, staring up at the sky. "It wasn't gone," Ethan replied softly. "It was just waiting for someone to listen." I turned my head, met his eyes, and for the first time, I didn't feel the weight of the world pressing down on me. Just the warmth of him, steady and sure. The boy who asked me to sing. The boy who gave me back more than my voice. The boy who gave me back myself. Years from now, maybe this town will forget. Maybe they won't. Maybe the whispers will fade, or maybe they'll cling like ghosts. But it doesn't matter anymore, because I've learned that silence doesn't protect you. It only buries you alive, and I'm done being buried. So if anyone ever asks me when my life truly began, when I stopped hiding, when I finally remembered how to breathe, I'll tell them it was the night Ethan asked me to sing. And I did. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.